There's a lure that professional fishing guides here in the United States use in secret. They pay hundreds of dollars a day for their service, promise results, and at the bottom of their bucket is something you can find for free on any beach. That's right, for free, on the sand. While you spend $60, $80 on a box of artificial lures that the store pushes like it's gold, they pick this thing up at the water's edge and fill their cooler with fish. Today, that secret ends. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because what the industry tries to hide, we put in your hands every week. A fisherman named Marcos, a Brazilian who has lived in Fort Lauderdale for 7 years, went to the beach with his American brother-in-law one Saturday morning. His brother-in-law brought all his gear, imported lures, new line, a reel that cost $300. Marcos brought an old bucket, a rusty sieve, and the memory of an old man he knew on the coast of Espiritu Santo when he was 12 years old. In 4 hours of fishing, Marcos caught 23 pompano fish. His American brother-in-law, with all his equipment, brought in two fish. Same beach, same time, same tide. His brother-in-law was speechless and asked what was happening. Marcos opened the bucket and showed him. The American couldn't believe it. This story is not a myth. It's not a fisherman's exaggeration. It's the kind of thing that happens every week on the beaches of Florida, the Carolinas, Texas, California. But nobody talks about it because talking about it goes against the interests of many people. When you learn to use what the beach offers for free, you stop buying what the industry manufactures for pennies and sells for tens of dollars with pretty packaging and promises of results that rarely materialize. Before we continue, I'll give you an overview of what's coming. You'll understand why this lure works in a way that no other artificial lure can imitate. You'll learn how to catch, prepare, and use it directly in the sand. And you'll learn the mistakes most people make that waste everything. Stick around until the end, because the detail that makes the biggest difference in fishing comes near the end. And it's the kind of thing that professional guides charge a lot to teach. Marcos' story is one case, but it's not an isolated one. Consider an informal study that a group of Brazilian fishermen here in Florida conducted over 3 consecutive weekends at Pompano Beach. They divided themselves into 2 groups. Group A used industrial bait, processed frozen shrimp bought from a fishing store, the kind that comes vacuum-packed, with no real smell, no natural texture. Group B used what the beach provided, without buying anything. First weekend, Group A caught 7 fish in total, in 6 hours. Group B caught 31. Second weekend, same tide conditions. Group A, 4 fish. Group B, 28. Third weekend, different. Tide, early in the morning. Group A, 12 fish. Group B, 43. Do you see the pattern? It's not luck. It's not a better position on the beach. It was the bait. What did Group B use? Sand flea. The scientific name is Emerita talpoida, but professional fishermen also call it mole crab. It's a tiny crustacean that lives buried in the wet sand, exactly where the wave crashes and recedes. Have you ever seen that movement on the beach after the wave goes away? Those little bubbles in the coves. Sand? That quick movement before the next wave arrives? That's them. Billions of them. Free. Right in front of you. And the fish, the pompano, the whiting, the redfish, the sheep's head, they've been eating them since the ocean existed. Now I'm going to ask you a direct question. When was the last time someone taught you this at the fishing store? Never. Of course never. Why would they teach you that you can fish better than with their product using stuff you picked up for free on the sand? This isn't conspiracy theory. It's business math. If you know that sand fleas work better than the processed frozen shrimp they sell, you stop buying the shrimp. Simple. And look, this technique isn't new. It didn't just appear yesterday. Coastal fishermen in Brazil, especially the older fishermen from the coast of Rio Grande do Norte, Alagoas, and Ceará, have been using live crustaceans from the sand for generations. When people migrated, this wisdom came along. The traditional fishermen of the southern United States also knew this. Those who fished before there were fishing tackle shops on every corner. It was beachside knowledge, passed down from father to son without needing a manual or colorful packaging. But there's a detail that most people don't know. It's not enough to just use the bait fish. There's a right way to collect it, a right way to store it, and a right way to put it on the hook that multiplies the results. And then there's what comes after, the boosters that transform a good bait into an amazing one. Before we get to that, I need to tell you about something that can completely change the way you approach fishing. This knowledge about the sand crab is just a part of what the industry doesn't want you to know. I've gathered in one place everything that traditional fishermen knew and that the market tried to bury. The book, High-Level Fishing, The Water Game. There you'll find practical reading on freshwater and saltwater fishing, how to identify in minutes where the fish are without relying on expensive sonar. Structure, where the fish actually pass and why. How current, tide, and water flow control everything, and how to use that to your advantage. The casting angle that decides more than the lure itself. The fish's behavior patterns that allow you to predict movements before they happen. And the mindset that separates those who try from those who decide. All in one place, straight to the point, without beating around the bush. The link is in the description. Now, back to the armadillo. Why does it work in a way that no artificial product can truly copy? The olfactory system of a fish like the pompano or the redfish is something you need to understand to respect. They can detect a single amino acid molecule diluted in 10 billion water molecules. Think about that. It's like being able to smell a drop of perfume thrown into an entire lake. Their sensory system has evolved over millions of years to track exactly the compounds that crustaceans and small invertebrates release when they are alive, when they move, when they are damaged. The beach pill bug releases 3 groups of compounds that activate the fish's hunting system simultaneously. First, free amino acids, specifically glycine, alanine, and taurine, which are the same ones that appear when a crustacean is alive and stressed. Second, inosinated compounds, which are flavor molecules that the fish instinctively associate with available animal protein. Third, surface, compounds from the pillbug's shell, which create a chemical trail in the water that the fish can trace like an invisible thread to the source. When you put processed frozen shrimp in water, what happens? The industrial freezing process destroys the cell membranes. The smell quickly dissipates. The texture becomes soft and artificial. The compounds that attract fish degrade during storage. What reaches the fish is a weakened and fragmented version of the signal it recognizes as food. Does it work? Sometimes, but it's nowhere near as effective as a live armadillo. When the armadillo is on the hook, whether still alive or recently dead, it releases the complete package of signals. The fish doesn't need to decide anything. Its brain receives the message: familiar food, real food, food I've eaten since I was born. It's a biological trigger that can't be ignored. It's like putting the smell of barbecue on someone who's been hungry for 12 hours. No convincing is needed. There's more. The sand crab has a movement in the water, even when it's on the hook, that exactly mimics what happens in nature when the wave carries it. The fish recognizes this movement pattern. This pattern is hard-coded in its hunting instinct. Artificial lures don't reproduce this. They can imitate the color. They can imitate the shape, but they don't imitate the complete package of chemical signals, plus movement, plus texture, that the real animal produces. Now you're going to learn how to make this work. In practice, from the very beginning, to catch the little armadillo, you'll need a metal sieve. The kind you use in the kitchen, about 25 centimeters in diameter, works. A 5-gallon bucket, and you yourself, right by the water's edge. Go to where the wave breaks and recedes. Look at the wet sand right after the wave goes away. You'll see some quick movements, like lumps burying themselves rapidly in the sand before the next wave. Those are the sand crabs. Stick the sieve into the sand, at that exact spot, at an angle of about 45 degrees towards the sea. When the next wave comes and goes, you lift the sieve with all the sand. Shake it in the seawater to wash it. What's left in the sieve are them. Ideal size, 1 to 2 centimeters. Smaller ones are good for whiting and small pompano. Larger ones, 2 centimeters and up, are for large pompano, redfish, and sheep's head. Don't take the very large ones. Above 3 centimeters, they become too heavy for the hook to work well in the tide. To store them during fishing, place them in a bucket with damp sea sand. Not water, damp sand. They will survive like this for hours. In the Florida summer heat, place a wet towel over them to maintain the temperature. In the refrigerator, inside a sealed container with damp beach sand, they last up to 48 hours. Do not try to freeze them. They will die and lose everything that makes them work. To attach to the hook, use a J-type hook, size 1 or 1/0 for smaller ones. For larger ones, a 2/0. Insert the hook through the underside of the woodlouse, on its belly, and bring it out through its back. The movement of the remaining tentacles on the sides will continue, and this is what attracts fish from afar. If the woodlouse is still alive when you attach it, even better. The natural movement in the water is the final trigger. Now, an important thing about regulations. Some states have limits on the amount of sand fleas that can be collected on specific beaches. In Florida, for example, the limit is 100 per person per day for personal fishing use. Always check the rules of the state where you are fishing before going out and collecting them without control. Not because you can't use them, but because respecting the limits ensures that there will be sand fleas on that beach for you and your children 20 years from now. If you want to take it even further, and this is where many people don't get to because they give up too soon, there are combinations that turn the armadillo into a trap that the fish can hardly ignore. First booster, fresh shrimp blood. When you blend 2 or 3 raw shrimp in a blender with a little salt water, you create a concentrate of amino acids and attractant compounds that you can mix into the water in the bucket with the sand fleas. They become impregnated with this smell through absorption. It works especially well in murky waters, where visibility is low and the fish rely more on their sense of smell than sight to locate the bait. Second booster, natural garlic paste. Not the industrialized powdered kind. 2 cloves of garlic crushed into a paste and mixed with a little sardine fish oil. Lightly coat the sand crab before placing it on the hook. Garlic contains sulfur compounds that enhance the crustacean's natural amino acids. Fishermen on the northeastern coast of Brazil have been using garlic in bait for decades. It's not superstition. It's basic chemistry that the elders understood intuitively before any laboratory could prove it. Third booster, shellfish juice. Opened and squeezed mussels produce a liquid that is basically a concentrate of everything that coastal fish smell in their natural habitat. A tablespoon of this liquid in the water of the mussel's bucket, 30 minutes before use, makes a difference that you will notice in the first casts. You don't need to buy anything processed. Open a fresh mussel at the market, store the liquid in a small bottle, and take it to the beach. With these 3 additions working together, you're covering smell, taste, and movement at the same time. These are 3 of the 4 main senses that shorefish use to hunt, and you're doing it with ingredients you picked up for free in the sand and with things that cost less than $3 at the market. Do you know how much the industry charges for a set of artificial lures that tries to imitate all of that? Between $40 and $80, depending on the brand, promising that it's what the professionals use, that it has exclusive synthetic scent technology, that it will attract more fish, and then you arrive at the beach next to a guy with an old bucket and a kitchen sieve, and he catches 3 times more fish than you in the same day. The artificial bait industry generates over $2 billion a year in the United States alone. $2 billion. This market exists because most people don't know what traditional fishermen knew, not because it's complicated. As you just saw, it isn't, but because it's against the interests of many people to teach you. Professional guides who charge $300 a day by boat don't want you to know that you can fish just as well standing on the sand for free. Tackle shops don't want you to know that the best bait is right at the water's edge. And synthetic bait manufacturers definitely don't want you to compare the results. When you learn this, you stop depending. You stop depending on stores, guides, pretty packaging with fish names on the front. You become a fisherman who reads the beach, understands what's happening in the water, and uses what the environment offers. This is what the old coastal fishermen knew, which the new generations lost when the industry arrived with its overflowing shelves. Now, how to use it in practice to maximize results. Timing. Early morning or late afternoon are best. Pompano fish specifically feed actively when the light is low. 6 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 7 in the evening are the most productive windows. In the middle of the day, with the sun high, they stay deeper and are less active. It's not that they don't fish, they do. But the difference in productivity is significant. Tide. A rising tide is better than a falling tide. When the water is rising, the sand crabs that live in the surf zone are being carried inland along with the wave. The fish follow this movement. A rising tide with a light wind blowing from the water towards the beach is the favorite combination of the most experienced coastal fishermen here in the Southeast. Rigging. Use a rig called a pompano rig or Florida pompano rig. It has 2 hooks spaced on the same leader, with a ball weight at the end. This allows the bait to be raised a few centimeters above the sand, exactly where the pompano and whiting pass by foraging. Cast beyond the 3rd surf break when the tide is high. When it is lower, the 2nd surf break is sufficient. Amount of bait on the hook. Don't overdo it. 1 medium-sized sand fleas per hook. 2 sand fleas, sometimes 3 of the smaller ones, only if the fishing is slow and you want to increase the scent. But usually, 1 is enough. Too much bait makes the hook heavy and changes its behavior in the water. For sheep's head, the approach changes. They stay on structures, pier pillars, rocks, artificial reefs. Cast near the structure, let it sink to the bottom. The sheep's head will go to the bottom to catch crustaceans, and the woodlouse is a classic food for them. Use a smaller hook, number 1, because the sheep's head's mouth is strong, but the attack is delicate. It pinches before swallowing, so you need patience to set the hook. The most common mistake that ruins everything: taking out a dead, deflated bait fish and continuing to fish with it. Deflated bait fish in the water release little signal. If it stays in the water for more than 15 minutes without results, replace it with a new one. Fresh bait makes a real difference. Second common mistake: fishing in the same spot for more than 30 minutes without results. The fish follow the bait. They don't stay still waiting. If there's no bite, change the casting position. 20 meters to the side makes all the difference. The beach has feeding areas that change with the tide, and you need to go after them. Third mistake: throwing away the broken mole crabs that were collected. The fragmented crabs release more compounds into the water and act as natural burley. Liquid. Bait that attracts fish to the area. Throw them back into the water before casting your bait. It's a technique that old-time fishermen called preparing the ground, and it works especially well on beaches with surf breaks and lateral currents. And remember, if you want the complete map of how the fish move, where it is in each type of water, how to read the conditions in real time and make the right decision before casting, it's all in high-level fishing, the water game. Reading the water, structure, current, behavior, positioning. The knowledge that old-school fishermen had and that the market has tried to replace with expensive products. The link is in the first pinned comment. Open it after the video ends. Now think about the next time you go to the beach. The others arrive with their boxes of bait, open them, put them on their hooks, and wait. You arrive with an old sieve, spend 15 minutes sifting through it, and in an hour you're already shredding the fish they couldn't catch. They'll look at you with that Marcos-like face, that "what is this guy using?" look. You decide whether to tell them or keep it to yourself.